funny how time changes the meaning of silence. When you're young, silence feels awkward, something to fill. When you're old, it feels sacred. It's where the truth hides, somewhere between the things you said and the things you wish you had. And if there's one truth that stayed with me all these 80 years, it's her name, Clara Hayes. I met her in the summer of 1959. I was 19, working at the gas station off Route 12, just outside a sleepy little town called Fairview. Back then, the whole world felt wide open, the roads stretching out forever, the nights full of music and stars. But I didn't know what love was until I saw her pull up in that powder blue Chevy, window rolled down, hair tied back with a red ribbon. She smiled, not the kind of smile that demanded attention, but the kind that made you feel seen. "You know how to check oil, don't you?" she asked, teasing. I told her I'd been doing it since I could walk. She laughed, and I swear, the sound of it changed something in me. She was from the next town over, working part-time at the library while saving for college. I didn't know much about books back then, but I started pretending I did just so I'd have something to talk about when she came by again. And she did, every Thursday, like clockwork. We'd sit by the pumps after closing time, talking until the crickets grew louder than our words. She'd tell me about the stories she read of faraway places, people chasing dreams. I'd tell her about my father's farm, the long days, the smell of oil and hay. Somehow, our worlds met in the middle. One night, we drove down to Lake Marlow. The air smelled like pine and warm rain. We sat on the hood of her car, feet dangling, watching the reflection of the moon ripple across the water. She said she didn't believe in forever. People change too much, she told me. I said I didn't know about people, but I believed in her. She didn't answer, but she rested her head on my shoulder, and in that moment, I thought maybe forever could fit into one summer night. But summers end. They always do. She got her acceptance letter that August, a scholarship to a college up north. I remember the way she looked when she told me happy, scared, guilty. "It's everything I've worked for," she said. "But I don't want to lose this." I tried to be strong, told her I'd wait, that I'd write every week. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Promise me something. Don't let this be the best thing that ever happens to you." I didn't understand what she meant then. I do now. The night before she left, we met again by the lake. The air was cool, the stars sharper than I'd ever seen them. She gave me a folded piece of paper, a poem she'd written. The last line read, "If the heart remembers, distance is only a word." I kept that paper in my wallet for years. The first few months, we wrote letters every week. Her handwriting was small and careful, like she didn't want to waste a single word. She told me about the city, the classes, the snow, the loneliness. I told her about the farm, my father's bad back, and how I'd started saving to visit her. But then the letters started coming slower. Her tone changed, softer, distant, until one day they stopped altogether. I waited. I told myself the mail was late, that she was busy, but after a while, even hope starts to feel heavy. That winter, her last letter came a short one, just a few lines. "Please don't wait for me. You deserve a life that keeps going, even when I can't be part of it. Thank you for giving me a summer I'll never forget." No signature, just her name, written like a goodbye. I carried that letter in my pocket for years, folded and worn, until the ink started to fade. After Clara left, the days got quieter, not in the peaceful way, but in that hollow way that makes sound itself feel different. Even the wind through the cornfields sounded lonelier. I threw myself into work, the farm, the gas station, anything that kept my hands busy so my mind wouldn't drift toward the thought of her, of what she might be doing, who she might be laughing with. But love, once it's carved its initials into you, never really leaves. It just hides under the surface, waiting for silence to pull it out again. A year passed. Then another. I got a job at the county maintenance yard, fixing road signs and plowing snow in winter. The work was steady, honest. I told myself I was content. But sometimes I'd drive past the old gas station and see her reflection in the window, clear as day. I'd blink, and she'd be gone. When I was 23, I met Marianne. She was kind, practical, the kind of woman who could fix a broken fence or cook a meal out of whatever was left in the pantry. We met at a church supper, and I remember thinking how easy she was to talk to. She didn't ask about my past, and I didn't volunteer it. We married a year later. For a time, it was good. We had a little house near the river, 2 children, a garden out back. Life became a rhythm, the kind you don't think much about while you're in it. But at night, when the house was quiet and the world had settled, I'd still find myself reaching for that folded letter in the drawer. I told myself it was harmless, just a memory. But Marianne saw it once, tucked between old pay stubs. She didn't say anything, not at first. Just looked at me with this expression, part sadness, part understanding. Later that night, she asked softly, "Do you still love her?" And I said the only thing I could, "I don't know how to stop." She nodded, didn't speak another word. But I saw something close in her that night, something I never could open again. Years went by. The kids grew up, left for college. Marianne and I learned to live beside each other, 2 travelers sharing the same road but heading to different places. We didn't fight. We just drifted. Then, one morning in late spring, must have been 1985 or so, I stopped at the post office downtown, and there it was. A letter addressed to me, written in that same careful handwriting I hadn't seen in over 20 years. My heart nearly stopped. Inside was a single page. The first line read, "If this reaches you, I suppose we're both still breathing." She told me she'd been living out west Colorado, I think working as a teacher. She'd married once, briefly. No children. She said she thought of me every summer when the air smelled like rain and gasoline. She ended the letter with, "If you ever find yourself near Denver, come see me. I'd like to know who you became." I must have read that line 100 times. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with the letter spread out before me, the lamp throwing long shadows across the wood. Marianne was already asleep upstairs. I thought about writing back, about packing a bag, about seeing her again. But I didn't. Because love like that, the kind that defines your youth, doesn't survive time unchanged. It turns into something else, something quieter, sadder, deeper. I was afraid that if I saw her again, it would ruin what we'd kept pure in memory. So I never wrote back. Life kept moving. The kids had their own families. Marianne passed away one winter, sudden but peaceful. After the funeral, while sorting through old papers, I found Clara's letter again, yellowed, folded, the ink fading like an old photograph. I sat down and read it, and for the first time, I cried. Not because of what I'd lost, but because of everything I'd left unsaid. I was 79 the day the past found me again. I remember because it was autumn, that soft, dying kind of autumn that feels more like memory than season. The trees behind my house were almost bare, the sky pale as worn paper. I was sitting by the window, reading the paper, and trying not to think about how quiet the world had become without Marianne's voice in it. Then the phone rang. It hardly ever rang those days. Most people had stopped calling after the funeral, and the kids only checked in on Sundays. But this was a weekday. The voice on the other end was a woman, polite but uncertain. "Mr. Walker?" she asked. "My name's Lydia Hayes. I'm calling on behalf of my mother." The name hit me like a cold wind. Hayes. She went on before I could speak. "My mother, Clara, asked me to reach out. She's been ill for a while. We found some letters in her things, old ones, written to you, but never sent. She wanted you to have them." I must have gone quiet, because she asked, "Mr. Walker, are you still there?" "I am," I said, though my voice barely made it past my throat. How is she?" There was a pause, then the kind of silence that carries more truth than words. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "She passed away last week." I closed my eyes. The sound of rain started on the window just then, as if the world was giving me permission to grieve. Lydia said she'd mail the letters to me. She talked about you sometimes, she added. Said you were the kindest man she ever knew. I didn't know what to say. 50 years of distance, and yet it felt like she'd never left. The envelope came 3 days later, thick, tied with a faded red ribbon. Her handwriting was just as I remembered. Neat, careful, deliberate. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on the table for a whole evening, like a ghost I wasn't ready to face. When I finally did, I found 5 letters inside, dated over the span of a decade, from 1965 to 1975. The first one began simply, I don't know if this will ever reach you, but I still talk to you sometimes in my head, the way I used to when I couldn't sleep. She wrote about her life in Denver, the teaching job, the mountains she loved, the loneliness that always followed her home. She said she'd married a man named Robert, kind but distant, who left after 2 years. She said she thought of me every summer, whenever the rain came with the smell of dust and gasoline. The second letter was darker. She'd fallen ill, something with her lungs, she said. Nothing serious, she wrote, though I could feel the lie between the lines. The third one was the hardest to read. She said she'd come back to Fairview once in '72 and had stood across the street from the old gas station. She saw a man who looked like me, older, with gray at the temples, laughing with his children. I didn't cross the street, she wrote. You looked happy. That was enough. The fourth letter, my hands shook as I read it, said simply, I wanted to see you again, but I was afraid you'd stopped remembering. I kept our summer in a box, the ribbon, the poems, your first letter. Sometimes I'd take them out just to remind myself that kind of love once existed in the world. And the fifth, the last one. If you're reading this, I'm probably gone. Please know that you were my home, even if we never built one together. I hope you found peace in your life, and that, somewhere, you still carry a piece of that summer, the one that made us believe in forever. I must have sat there for hours, reading and rereading until the ink blurred through my tears. It wasn't grief I felt, not exactly. It was something quieter, a strange, aching gratitude. Because after all the years, all the silence, she still remembered me the way I remembered her, not as something lost, but as something sacred. That night, I took out an old piece of paper and started writing, not to send, just to finish what had never been said. Dear Clara, I wrote, I kept your letter all these years. I married, raised children, worked, lived, but you were there through it all, the quiet heartbeat beneath every choice I made. I never came to Denver because I was afraid, not of you, but of time. I wanted to remember us the way we were young, foolish, alive. You once told me not to let that summer be the best thing that ever happened to me. I tried, but maybe it was, and that's okay. I signed my name, folded the paper, and slipped it into an envelope. On the front, I wrote one word, Clara. Then I walked down to the lake, the same one where we'd watched the moon ripple across the water so many years ago. The same lake that had held our secrets, our promises, our goodbye. The air smelled like rain again. I set the envelope on the water and watched it drift, turning slowly in the current until it disappeared into the mist. I don't know if she ever read it, wherever she is now, but I like to think she did. And maybe that's what love really is, not something you hold on to, but something you set free when the world gets quiet. Because some people don't leave your life, they just move into your heart, and they stay there whispering across time, across memory, across every silence that follows. And when the wind moves through the trees on nights like this, carrying the faint scent of pine and rain and faraway summers, I swear I still hear her voice, soft, distant, eternal, calling my name.